Yes. This is Kojo for the Free for Podcast. As you know, this is going to be one of many shows of the Premier League clubs and a review of their season. Today we talk Chelsea, and who else would I invite on to speak about their club than Theo from the Shed End. Theo, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. First of all, thanks for having me back on free midfield. Always a pleasure. But yeah, I'm good, albeit with a bad season. But yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm good. Yes, I mean for my club as well, it's been a good season. I'm not gonna even lie. We've got another game coming up soon, so
Man said it. We tried to hide the smile. I see it, man. I don't miss a trick.
I'll try to be calm. I know for you, it's not being the best of seasons.
Yeah.
And Chelsea have had this in the past where they've had like a fantastic season the year before, and out of nowhere, they've had quite a dramatic fall in the season. But I wouldn't say anywhere near this level. There's been a lot of changes at Chelsea, new ownership, managerial changes, and there's a new manager coming in as well soon. I think he's starting tomorrow, actually. For those listening, today is the 31st of May, so 1st of June, which would be tomorrow. If you're listening, is going to be first day for Mauricio Pochettino. Am I right, or is it in July?
No, 1st of July. 1st of July. So
perfect. So it's
yeah. I think he's working behind the scenes from now, but officially he starts on the 1st.
Okay, absolutely awesome. Okay, well, let's start there. We'll start with Pochettino before we get into the season. Obviously, if anyone that doesn't know Pochettino's managerial history, started at Espanyol as manager. He went to Southampton, did a very good job there. Went to Tottenham, probably was their best Premier League era manager. I think that's fair to say. Champions League finalists, 2 title races, no trophies. So in the Premier League era, I think only Juan de Ramos is still the only one to get them a trophy of some sort. Of course, he's gone to PSG recently. Up and down time there, but what manager goes there and has a completely up time? That's just what happens with PSG. Looking at your current squad, looking at his history with previous players and teams, are you excited for this appointment?
I'm gonna say yeah. Because for the simple fact that it has been a turbulent couple of seasons for Chelsea fans as well. Obviously, Graham Potter, Frank Lampard, Thomas Tuchel departing, so it's been a mad roller coaster. The sanctions, change of ownership, so I think it needed someone to come in with the. I'm not going to call Pochettino a world-class manager because I don't think he's at that level yet. I think he's pushing on the door to get into the world-class bracket, but I think he's definitely got qualities that we haven't seen from the previous 3 or 4 managers, and I think that's where we have to kind of give him the time as well. I think the thing with Pochettino is criticised for not winning trophies at Tottenham, even though greater managers in terms of Conte and Jose have failed at Tottenham as well, and he was criticised for having a Rolls Royce of a squad at PSG. So I think this is probably a good test to see where he is now in terms of his managerial qualities. He's kind of got a really good squad in terms of what's at Chelsea, but at the same time, he's got a lot of work to do in terms to get things right. So he's almost in between the Spurs, in between the PSG, in my opinion. He's got a quality squad, but he's still got to do something with it. And one of the good things about Pochettino is he loves to, or he has previously loved to work with younger players and develop them. You look at, even going back to like Ricky Lambert, Dele Alli, got the best out of Son, best out of Kane. Really good players. He likes to press as well. He likes to have from what I know and from what I've seen of him at Spurs and PSG, Southampton, he likes his team to at times control possession. Very much early days at Spurs he did. I think that kind of changed as times went on for Spurs. They just burnt out because of the amount of running that he wants them to do. He's got a good squad there in Chelsea. Problem is he's got too good of a squad in terms of numbers. So he needs to trim that down quickly. Obviously, just before we were talking about Kovacic has been allowed to speak to Manchester City. Ruben Loftus-Cheek after the Newcastle game on Sunday looked like he'd played his last game. He was very tearful, kind of emotional coming off the pitch. So you'd think he's going to want to go. There's a number of players I think need to go, which we'll probably touch on later. But in terms of the appointment itself, probably the best time to get in a manager that isn't going to take any rubbish from the owners, bringing people in at halftime or trying to address the squad during match days and stuff like that. And also someone that has the quality to take this squad to a Champions League final, potentially win it in a couple of years, or try and push back into European spots in the Premier League. So good appointment overall. Happy with the 2.5 years or 2 years with an option, sorry, to extend. Makes sense in terms of what we've done with Potter. So happy so far. We'll see what happens in the next couple of months in the summer window, man.
I mean, I'm gonna back up Pochettino here as well, because I think he's been given a bit of an unfair rep. I think when you come from Southampton, Espanyol, people look at you and say, "Hey, he's up and coming." Went to Tottenham, and I think he overachieved at Tottenham in terms of the expectations. Took them made them a certified Champions League team. Got to a final. I know the title races. People say, I mean, we all know the jokes about Tottenham finishing third in a 2-horse race, even though if we're checking the stats and the history, Arsenal were top of the league, Spurs were never. But we move. Hey, we're here to do agendas, so we're saying the truth. And then you go to the next season and they finish behind Antonio Conte's Chelsea, who, after losing 3-0 the Emirates, went on a standing run straight to the league as well, and they were deserved winners. And even in that year, for people that love points and rave on about points, Spurs got 86 points, which is not bad. It's very good, But he did make one thing clear, and I'm going to ask you a question from it. When he was at Tottenham and he realized after finishing second that he needed a few more pieces, he made the comment to Gary Lineker saying that, sometimes you need to change the furniture in the house. There's a lot of furniture that needs changing at Chelsea. I mean, you talked about Loftus-Cheek, we've talked about Kovacic already. Mason Mount is someone who's heavily linked to a move away. Apparently, Man United are the front runners for that one, and the fees are up and down depending on who you believe. Do you think the players that he has there at his disposal right now, who do you think, just maybe 4 or 5 individuals, would be key to his style of football and what he'd want to do at Chelsea?
I think, first of all, the first one's Enzo Fernandez, clearly. I think the fact that he's Argentinian, Poch, do you know what I mean? There's a connection there already between the two of them. I think whoever comes into partner, obviously I'm talking hypotheticals, but whoever comes in, surely we're going to sign someone to partner Enzo Fernandez in midfield. Kante, I mean, he still hasn't signed a deal. He's still got a deal on the table that was meant to be signed, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Still hasn't signed, so talks have stalled, so you would assume, and his injuries record isn't the best anyway now, so we need to kind of look beyond N'Golo Kante, but someone has to come into partner Enzo Fernandez. I nearly forgot who he's talking about then. And Nkunku's meant to be coming in as well. Pre-agreement's already been signed. Medical, I think, was done 6 months ago. So if he comes in, I think he's going to be crucial. Obviously, João Felix has been confirmed not to be coming back on a permanent or additional loan, so I think he comes in to play that role. I think Noni Madueke, and the reason I say that as well, because if I remember from the Spurs, the time at Spurs, and I think even for a large proportion of his time at PSG, he liked to play 4-2-3-1. Now, I would expect maybe Noni Madueke, maybe Mudryk on the other side, or maybe Raheem Sterling to be those 2 players on the side, and Nkunku in the middle, and then we do need a number 9 going forward. But I think you look at the way he's set up with Spurs. I think at least over 140 games for Spurs were played as a 4-2-3-1. So when I talk about Enzo, that partnership in midfield is going to be crucial. Reece James, again, another player that we need to have fit all season.
Yeah.
Someone who we've lost back-to-back seasons now for a large period of season. It's been a massive impact in terms of how we get forward with the ball, the transitioning of the ball going forward. Right wing back or right back, he's still one of the best in, if not the league, probably in the world on his day. So I think he's going to be crucial. But there's so many gaps that we don't have. Like I said, striker, goalkeeper, partner for Enzo Fernandez in midfield. I think it's more of who do we bring in as opposed to the current squad. We know already. We as Chelsea fans who said for 2-3 seasons, the squad, yes, it's got key players in there. It's got big players. Look at Thiago Silva, 39, nearly 40 years of age. So it's got players in there that are good, but we also need to address a lot of the issues that after 600 million, we still haven't done. So I think it's more who comes in and obviously who goes out, but we need to bring in a lot of additions to satisfy, I think, Pochettino kickstarting the season.
Well, yeah, even that you said in Nkunku, I think Malo Gusto is coming as well. in the summer as well. He's another right back, which is interesting because obviously Reece James he's fantastic. I have no doubts about him. But with the injury issues that he does have, if Malo Gusto comes in and hits the ground running, it's obviously a big if. You never know. Football is football. That's a potential challenger to position. Another young right back, full of energy, can go up and down. Defensively, I'm not sure on him. I haven't seen highlights of him defensively because, as you know, the modern thing is all right backs and fullbacks and left backs, wing backs, whatever you want to call them, must attack, and be able to create, not really focus on what they can do defensively unless they can do that recovery defender, so like Kyle Walker-ish. But I'm intrigued to see what you do because, dare I say, a European-less Chelsea that's giving a manager essentially the keys to build his team. You've been linked with people like Ugarte from Sporting Lisbon, who anyone that listens to this podcast knows I am a Portuguese league stan. If Chelsea get him, I'm furious. I'm furious. Because
I got a curveball for that in a minute, so I'm gonna let you finish. But I got a curveball.
Oh, okay. Let me run through this and then you take. Because I was a big fan of João Paulinho, and I was surprised that he went to Fulham. Not that Fulham are a bad club, but I thought he would be able to go to like a higher level club. And I wanted to be an understudy to Casemiro at Man United. Before we were even linked with Casemiro, that's the one I went at United. And Ugarte is another one that in that mod as a defensive midfielder, tended to be an anchor man, tends to be a deep line playmaker in terms of roles in that position. Just muted myself. He's a master of it. And I think also you've been linked with Diogo Costa from Porto as well. Good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is your curveball? Because I'm intrigued. What's going on?
So apparently there was talks with Ugarte, I think yesterday or the day before, Todd Bowley, as Todd Bowley does, even though this is the same man that said he's backing away from his responsibilities at Chelsea, he's going to reduce it down to 5% instead of something like 20% at the moment. So you would expect Todd Bowley not to be having these discussions. It didn't work last season.
Yeah.
He's gone in with Ugarte, and I think the way that the structure of the deal that Todd Bowley wants to do is very similar to the deals that he's done previously, trying to, maneuver the goalpost, as we want to call it.
Yeah.
And I think PSG have come in and basically offered him double, I think, or maybe even triple the wages that we've offered him. And I think the fee structure is a lot less than what we're trying to offer to Sporting. So it's a no-brainer. I think if you had any common sense, depending on which one you'd want to go with. I mean, PSG sounds very appealing. Obviously, there's a lot of superstars there as well. It's whether, the long-term vision, the long-term project, what do you want to go with? Do you want to go and win trophies instantly with the likes of Mbappe and co? Or do you want to try and build something with Pochettino, who I believe has spoken very closely with Ugarte already, and they've had some sort of dialogue. So I wouldn't say it's a no from now, but I think it's definitely derailed the discussions and the negotiations with Chelsea at the moment. So we have to see how that pans out. But this could be a Rafinha all over again, and a Gabriel Jesus all over again, and other players that we were meant to get last season. So it could derail.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie here. I think it's a kind of a sticky one for him, and this is why. I've never liked or fell in love with the PSG project. I don't like how they do business or how they go for players. I don't think there's ever been a plan. Because they obviously changed three managers. Sort of like how I criticize Man United and other Premier League clubs. There's no sort of, I don't know, if I compare it to Southampton 2011 to maybe 2016, before they brought in Mark Hughes, if I remember correctly, there was like a succession of managers that play a certain brand of football. So if one left, the other one came in. It was continuous, maybe a few changes. But there was a brand of football the club they wanted to play, and there was a system and everything worked, and you build a team for the managers that come in. Whereas at PSG, it's just, well, okay, this guy's available, so let's bring him in. And this guy, let's bring him in. If I'm being honest, what did they want with Ugarte? Because last season they signed Carlos Soler, they signed this guy, they signed that guy. There's no plan. But then at Chelsea, you've got an owner who essentially looks like he's just buying to buy, and you as a player, you got to sit there and say, okay, I'm talking to you, but we all got eyes here, and we all got social media. Football's everywhere. I can see it. I know who Chelsea are. Chelsea are a huge club. They're one of the biggest clubs in England and in Europe. You've got this manager in. Why am I not talking to him? Am I part of his plans, or am I just being brought in because I'm the new hottest name on the market? So I'm intrigued to see. But if I'm being honest, in my opinion, I think he should choose Chelsea. Because I think if he goes to PSG, he's living there in a year's time anyway, just wasting his time. So that's my opinion on that, really. Mudryk is another one I want to ask you about. Now, he hasn't. Well, I was going to be a bit kind to him as he hasn't hit the ground running. He's just been an absolute disaster of a signing so far. Things can change, but I'm not really a stats guy. But for a winger who is tricky and fast, and from what the highlights we've seen at his previous club, Shakhtar, 0 goals and 0 assists is not looking good for him. But we all know that Pochettino loves a good, tricky winger and likes to get his wingers inside and, getting them involved in the play, link up with the striker. Even Lamela thrived under Pochettino at Spurs a little bit as well. We know what Son's history is at Spurs as a whole and with Pochettino. How big is next year for that kid? Because he's still young, man. I don't like doing this to these guys because in reality they're young, but the pressure's on.
Yeah, I think it always comes down to, and it shouldn't, but a lot of it comes down to the price tag of a player. If he was 20 million, I don't think, and I agree with you 100%. Apart from the Liverpool game at Anfield, I have not seen anything from this guy to make me think, yeah, we've got something there. He hasn't shown me enough. He shows you 5 minutes of a 60-minute cameo of what he might be able to do. And when you pay that much money, and like you said, Shakhtar, the reels that you used to see, the YouTube clips, you're thinking, wow, we're getting a really good player here, but he hasn't shown anything. And next season, I'm hoping with Pochettino coming in, he gets the best out of him. Like I said at the start, he likes his players to press, so that means he's got to be part of that. That tactically he's got to be on job to do that as well. The same with the right side, but I just think I don't know. I feel it's a hard league to come into. We've seen players previously, not just at Chelsea, I think even back to someone like Jack Grealish when he went to City, his first season was relatively poor under Pep, and then he's developed slightly this season. So I think if we can see the same consistency or the trajectory from how he's been this season to where we're trying to get him to get to, there's a player in there. I mean, you only need to see what you can do. Like I said, those little tiny spells, there's a player in there, and I think it is just maybe a change of manager. As I said before, trimming down the squad, I think that doesn't help. He's only been playing a certain restricted role in terms of starting games, coming on as a sub in like the 70th minute, like that's not consistent enough. And one of the things we need next season is consistency in our starting 11. We need a starting 11 that is our base starting 11. Yeah, you got to rotate, you got to swap, you got to factor in injuries, suspensions, etc. But you need a base starting 11 that you work with. They get consistency, they get regular football together, they understand how each other plays, the link up play, rest of it. We've got to get that next season, and I hope he is part of that because he has got talent, but it's massive. Next season is massive for him. If you don't write players off too quick, but you talk about the team of Werner, Kai Havertz, those sort of players that Christian Pulisic, we talk about these players still as, we've got to give him a bit more time. And he was at this season when I think Lampard was there, the first stint. Some of them. So we've got to start thinking about how long do we give a player. Mudryk for me has another 2 seasons in him. There has to be a development. There has to be something that shows us that, okay, he's not the finished article, but he's 50% now. And then next season, I want to see him at 75%. And then the season after that, he should be at least 90, and then consistently trying to get to 100. So we have to see, but is it a confidence thing? Possibly. He's coming into a new league, a lot of pressure, price tag. This season was probably the worst season for him to come to Chelsea. And so I think we have to see what he can do under Pochettino and then assess him from there.
Yeah, bro, literally, it could be just a goal. It could be the most scrappiest of goals, but if it hits the back of the net, he might just go on a mad one after. He might say, okay, I'm feeling this now. This
He's
is
been
football.
close. He's been close a couple of times, but as I said, and to be fair, they all came in the Liverpool game, the 15
Yeah,
minutes that he gave us. So I think he's got talent. He's got talent there. So we just have to see what happens next season.
yeah. I'm excited to see what he does. I do like a lot of players in your squad. I'm a fan of Badiashile.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of I don't say I'm a fan of Madrid. I saw videos. I'm not someone that likes basing on clips. I need to see
No, I'm
what.
same.
Yeah, so I'll give him some time. Madueke, I do like as well. You definitely do need a striker. Before we go into the managers and you had in the previous season and obviously how the season as a whole, João Felix, you happy with him leaving?
I think he's got talent, and I said to someone earlier, he's going to be a Ballon d'Or winner one day.
Okay.
I believe that. My only downside is the loan structure was set up all wrong in the first place. I don't know if we'd signed him by the time I came on here last time. I don't think we had. I can't remember when I came on. It was either when Potter was sacked or when we announced Potter, or in between that spell. I can't remember.
Yeah,
But I don't think we had João Felix at the time. Now, the structure of the loan, madness. I don't know who signed off that deal, but they better walk themselves out of Cobham tonight, because that was one of the maddest loan deals I think I've ever seen in Premier League.
In fact, no, we did speak about it because I remember you saying
we did.
Even if he doesn't do well or he does do well, regardless of how it goes, if you structure a loan like that, I can't lie. At the end of the loan, you have to sign the player because you can't be giving them money and all the other stuff and then let the guy go back. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think I read a stat yesterday that said each of his goals, and I think he only scored maybe 3. Maybe might have got that wrong. They cost 4 million a goal, and his appearances were costing 750,000 per appearance.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I remember. I think bearing in mind, I know he was suspended for 3 games after the Fulham sending off, but you're still talking mad money, and obviously we're still paying his wages. Now, there's no option, no obligation to buy in his loan deal. I think it was whoever signed it off. Honestly, they apprentice is what I'm going to call them. But in terms of am I happy, I think it made sense. If we get in Nkunku in, I think it makes sense. Pochettino, I think he's keen to see Nkunku play in that sort of 10 role behind the striker, which is where João Felix was playing anyway, majority of the time. And I think for the fee that they were asking for, I think it would have only made sense if we could have potentially offloaded someone like Lukaku into that deal, maybe weave that into the deal, reduce the fee for João Felix in part exchange for Lukaku. That probably would have made a bit of sense. But I think for the money they were asking, and obviously FFP, we've got to offload players. We still need to bring in, like I said, a striker, a goalkeeper, a DM. I think it wouldn't have made sense to do that this season. So I think really good player, but probably the wrong time to try and sign him as well.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. As extremely unlikely as it is, if there's anybody, and I mean anybody from Manchester United Football Club listening that's involved in transfers, go sign him. Believe me, go sign him. Because
over Mason Mount? Over Mason Mount?
Well,
because I think that's a more realistic one. I think out of the two, bearing in mind they're probably going to be. Well, I think Chelsea have valued Mason Mount at 70 to 80 million, which is what João Felix is. Even though Mason Mount's in his last year of his deal, so you'd expect it to be a lot lower. But Chelsea's Chelsea. Todd Bowley's at the wheel, so. I think that's the more realistic. The one that makes more sense is João Felix, 100%, because you can see when he's on the pitch, tiniest little detail of things that some people don't even pick up on.
Yeah,
he's doing it. He is doing it, and he's done that in a squad at Chelsea, which was not cohesion. There's no cohesiveness at all at that squad. So for him to look good in that Chelsea squad this season,
well, that's the thing. I mean, I do like Mason Mount. I'm not gonna act as if I don't. I don't agree with the fee. You've said that he's got a year left on his contract. Similar to like Harry Kane. Harry Kane's got a year left on his contract, but listen, values is what the club thinks they are. It's like people will say, I don't want to pay over 100 million for Declan Rice, but that's what value West Ham gives.
The money's the money.
The money's the money, and truth be told, that's what they value him because that's how important he is to them. So if they're losing someone of that magnitude, they're gonna want top dollar. That's
the price is the price, man.
Yeah, exactly. You got to pay it. Game's the game. As my friends used to say in the group chat, spend the coin. If you like, whether you like it or not, you got to spend the coin. João Felix, I think he would probably be even attainable for about 60. And the reason I say that is just because Atletico made a statement where they sort of just, the president sort of said, we don't know what we're doing with him. And there is no plan for him here, to be honest. So
surplus.
Yeah, he's a surplus. Unless unless the rumors that Simeone will step down at the end of the season come in, and if a new manager comes in and wants him, things change. But as far as they're concerned right now, they're bringing back a player that they're not really interested in keeping, hence why he was allowed to go on loan to Chelsea. But I digress. If Mason Mount does come to Man United, I will back him. He is a good player. I think if utilised properly, you have a quality talent there. And I think we saw that with Chelsea, not last season, the season before. So
Twice.
he's a good player.
Yeah, 2 seasons.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player. You know, if you use him right, yeah. The one person I don't think used him wisely was Frank Lampard. Speaking of Frank Lampard,
you notice I've been rolling my head. I've been shaking my head a lot on this podcast so far.
Well, it's a baffling one because you started the season with Tuchel. He had won the Champions League as well. Obviously, not the last year, the year before, because Real Madrid are the current holders until obviously the winner of Man City and Inter Milan. We found out who was the Champions League there. But he started the season, wasn't the best of starts, as we are clearly aware. But then Graham Potter came in and it got seemingly worse. Difficult summer for Chelsea. Couldn't sign anybody, I think, because of the Abramovich situation. Russia, Ukraine. Todd Bowley eventually comes in. He's forced to sell. But with all that said, Tuchel, sacking him first before we go to Potter, the right decision for you?
I think it's a tough one, man. I think yes, in a way, because I think if the visions don't align, and this is what we're hearing, that Thomas Tuchel's vision or his plan or his ideas were rubbing Todd Bowley and the hierarchy the wrong way. So if it wasn't going to be sacking in a September or the back end of August or whenever it was going to be happening at Christmas. It would happen now. It would happen in a year. It was going to happen at some point. So is it the right thing? Possibly not, looking back on hindsight at the same time as well. So it's on the fence answer I'm going to give you. But because I still think Thomas Tuchel done really well with a squad that needed improvement. And I think he needed a bit more time. I think the sacking, even Todd Bowley's come out and said the sacking of Tuchel was premature. It shouldn't have happened when it did. So he's obviously learned that mistake. But I think it was going to happen at some point, because if a manager doesn't get on with the owner or the owner doesn't get on with the manager, what's going to happen? It's going to be a sacking at some point. Someone, and the owner ain't leaving. The owner owns the club. He ain't leaving nowhere. So the manager's going. So I think it was the right thing to do. I think who came in to replace him was.
What were your thoughts on that? When you were linked with him and you saw it was serious, were you convinced by Potter? No, that's a shake of the head. No, okay.
No, do you know what? I think at the time it was let's see how it goes moment, right? Because you got to remember how, I think when you talk, well, not you, but when we talk about Graham Potter, we think of Graham Potter at Chelsea. We got to remember what Graham Potter was trying to install at Brighton at the time. And I know De Zerbi's done like above and beyond what Graham Potter done, but you have to remember that he was trying to get this team, his Brighton team, playing a very good style of football. I think he was almost there. I think obviously De Zerbi, as I say, taking it to the next level. So it was a step up that Potter needed. I just wish it wasn't my club that he done it with, because at the end of the day, I think he's a very good manager. I think if he goes to, I think he's been linked with Crystal Palace recently. So if he goes to that kind of club again and just tries to take baby steps, as opposed to go from Brighton, no disrespect to Brighton fans at all, but to go from Brighton to a team that's trying to compete for the Champions League or compete for the Premier League, it's a massive step up. And I don't think Graham Potter understood the magnitude of the job he was taking on, because the job was, I think there was a press conference where he said, I've never watched I've never been in a Champions League environment before. You can't say that as a Chelsea manager, because you're expected to be the one that leads the team out to that Champions League game. Right. So I think you could see as time went on, when he got his polo neck thing on, he got his little makeover thing, you could see that deteriorate from him by, I don't know, October. A month into the job, he was just not the Graham Potter that started the job a month earlier. So I think it was and the thing is, the rebuild's a massive thing.
Yeah.
So when you get a manager in, they have to be able to deal with egos, the change, keep things ticking on the pitch, getting the players right, new signings coming in, massive disruption in the dressing room, pressure from outside of fans, media. You got a lot to deal with. So to deal with all of that, plus the whole thing of trying to adjust how we're trying to play and what the new owner's probably trying to come in and tell you how to set your team up with the wrong. I think the owner gave him the wrong formation, or that with Tuchel, he gave him an extra player. It was like a 4-4-3 formation. He tried to give Tuchel.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
So when you've got someone like that trying to come in and like add their little 2 pence into it or whatever, I think it was only going to end one way. The pressure got to him in the end, but Potter will get another job somewhere, just not a top club, I don't think, for the time being.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, you're talking about a massive change in environment. You're going from one club to another, that's one thing, but even Chelsea in itself going through a different type of ownership, how the owner does. Because Abramovich was very active, but Abramovich worked with the managers. Like, there was some sort of plan, and he was ruthless, but it looked like he was ruthless with a plan because Chelsea were successful regardless. And I can only think of maybe Scolari and, if you want to say AVB didn't work out, but you want to say the rest kind of did enough to say that you got something out of them. Mourinho came and left, came back again, got titles in both reigns, So when you go into Todd Bowley now, who is essentially involved in everything, and for someone like Potter, who I'm sure at Brighton, I listened to how the owner speaks. He spoke on the Beautiful Game podcast, so shout out those guys. You could tell that he works with his manager as well, and whoever the manager wants, he works to bring them in. That's why De Zerbi's having so much success. And you can see the players that he brought in have worked to their style. As you've obviously said, now they're in Europe, they're succeeding where Potter was trying to get them to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just looked like it rattled him. It rattled him differently, and he didn't know how to deal with it. And it's a learning curve. He's still a young manager. Maybe if he goes, let's go to Palace, depending on if they don't want to allow Roy Hodgson to actually enjoy retirement or not. Who knows? It could be a good move for him. It could be a good move for him. But he was not the worst managerial appointment, as we have already mentioned. Frank Lampard. Now, this one threw me. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, a part of me really wanted to message you and like just
my phone was off that period. You wouldn't go in touch with me at all. Be honest.
I was so close to that message you saying, firstly, like, why is this happening? Are you okay? Why is he back? Like, just so many questions, because the overall bafflement in the football world kind of epitomizes his reign as well as to his appointment, because not doing well at Chelsea is one thing. That's okay. They're a huge club. Everton are also a very big club. If I'm being honest, they are a big club. They've got some good history. He failed there. So what on earth made Todd Bowley, even if it's a temporary thing, look around all the options and say, I'm going to bring this guy back? Could you have made any sense of it when you heard the news? And
yeah, do you know what? I think at the time as well, I remember thinking, because at the time when Potter was sacked, I think there was little rumblings about maybe Frank Lampard, but I was like, no, that ain't gonna happen. Come on, don't be silly. He's just been, he nearly got Everton relegated. Come on, it's not gonna happen. And we were at that time as well, we were on free fall. Like, you got to remember, the results were not good at all under Potter, so we were getting closer to that relegation than ever. And we were joking as Chelsea fans, saying, oh, relegation battle might be on. And then it stopped being a joke to, like, we actually might be on a relegation battle right now. So to see him come in, it didn't make any sense to me. And the only sense that I got out of it from a sort of Todd Bowley Chelsea perspective was that there was a lot of disgruntled fans under Graham Potter that were booing the players off, abusing the players verbally as they walked off the pitch. Cucurella being one of them, Mason Mount, Kepa at times. Obviously, Graham Potter, I think, ended up getting death threats. So there was a lot of things that were going on, or I think his family got death threats or something.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things going on at the club that was just hostile and just crazy. So I think the only thing I can think of Todd Bowley in his mind when he's looking at Frank Lampard's record and sees loads of L's and D's and not a lot of W's is, I need something to come in and calm the fans down, appease the fans a little bit, a familiar face, a club legend, someone that's a bit of face of Chelsea, for him to come in and just see out the season.
Yeah.
But even that, I think, annoyed a lot of the fans, because I think the fans realized that we're not in that sort of space where, you know, I think our last game when Frank Lampard was there last time was, I think it was against like Wolves, and we, on the final day, we got into the Champions League that way with Frank Lampard under a transfer ban. So I think the fans were expecting that again, that kind of Frank Lampard that had the Tammy Abraham, Olivier Giroud, you know, these sort of players that might just get you the 3 points. We didn't have that this season. We had Kai Havertz as a 9. So things were different, and I think Chelsea fans didn't expect that.
Aubameyang was there.
Yeah, but you see the thing with Aubameyang, I think, I can't remember what his fee was. You know, his appearance fee, his appearance fee was mad.
He had an appearance fee?
Yeah, he had an appearance fee. I'll send it you afterwards, but he was a mad number. It was a couple 100,000, I think, per game, which is why I think he never ended up in the Champions League squad as well, because obviously the more you play him, the more you pay him.
The money management at Chelsea was bad this year, isn't it?
Hemorrhaging money. We are hemorrhaging money out of our, man. Yeah, so I think, obviously Aubameyang was there. We had David Datcher Fofana, another really good player that's come in, but never hit the ground running, hasn't been given the opportunity, and I want to see a lot more of him next season as well. But I just think, I mean, Lampard, I think, won one game, Bournemouth, recently, 3-1. That was his only win as Chelsea manager. I'll be honest, and this is going to be probably something that Chelsea fans won't agree with. He's not a manager at any level, and I'm sorry.
I'm not a Chelsea fan. I agree with you.
He's not a manager. Is he someone that could be like an advisor or in an advisory role or a technical director role? 100%. If he's picked out a couple of players before, if what he's saying is true, he said he tried to sign Erling Haaland a couple of times on his first stint at Chelsea manager. Didn't get it over the line. But if he's picking out certain talent and certain players, then there's a role for him behind, away from the dugout. He doesn't have to do that. Go and be a number 2 for Sonny. John Terry's swallowed his pride a little bit and said, look, I'm going to be a number 2 to Dean Smith and whatever, and I'm learning my trade, if you want to call it that, under a manager. Probably a bad example because Dean Smith just got lesser relegated, but get what I'm saying, like, it's someone that he's learning off, you know. And you look at all the managers, the Prem managers, Wayne Rooney, Steven Gerrard, none of them have really been, obviously Gerrard in Scotland, different story, but when he's come to the Prem, he got sacked when they were 17th and Emery got them to 7th in the league. So some of these managers have to just take a step back and realize, Gary Neville done it. Valencia, you haven't seen him manage since then. He's in the studio with Jamie Carragher every Monday night. So sometimes you got to take a step back. Frank Lampard is not a manager. He's just someone that has got the name of Harry Redknapp backing him. His dad, obviously, Frank Lampard Senior. Yeah. Jamie Redknapp is his cousin. He's got the goal scoring record at Chelsea. That's it. Very good player. Really bad manager.
Yeah, I mean, for me, people like me and you, we watched him in his Chelsea days, bossing it. I mean, he was, for me, one of the best midfielders I've ever seen, and I think to this day, it's genuinely incredible to have a central / attacking midfielder be the top goal scorer of a club, not even just a Premier League, of a club in general. It's an outstanding achievement, and he goes down in history for that. The issue is when you come into management and you have such a, dare I say, an atrocious run as a manager, especially considering if you add in his Everton form as well, he lost, I think.
He nearly got them relegated. Let's be honest. That's not Sean Dyche. That's a Frank Lampard that nearly got Everton relegated on Sunday.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And in fact, considering that he joined Chelsea, when did he join you guys? What was it, February?
Yeah, something like that.
So he replicated that form to maybe even more of a worse extent, because he dragged Chelsea from top half of the table.
No, he dragged us from 11th to 12th. But
Yeah, okay, so not that far down, but
we were not
still,
that high up the league when he come in. We were bottom half. I think we were like 10th to be fair, or 9th to be fair. But he did drag us down slightly. But I think it's not just the results. I think it's his tactical awareness. It's his understanding of the game as a manager, not as a player. Two different things. I think when I watch him as a player, brilliant. He knows where he needs to be. He knows what to do. And that's easier because you're just focusing on, I suppose, your role in the team. When you're the manager, you got to think about 10 outfield players on the team and what they've got to do. Some of his lineups did not make sense. He'd go from a back four to then a three centre backs with the wing backs. The next game, he was playing three in midfield, like with Kovacic and Conor Gallagher. Or I think one of the games recently, he had Enzo playing almost as a six on his own with Conor Gallagher and Carney Chukwuemeka playing ahead of them.
Yeah.
So what do you want Enzo to do? I think it's against City. What do you want Enzo to do in that situation? Like, he's going to get torn apart in that midfield on his own in that role. So I just think playing Hakim Ziyech, the man that wants to leave, the man that nearly went to PSG, you're playing him, bringing on Christian Pulisic. It just didn't. I think he was just, in all honesty, I think Frank Lampard just came in. Todd Bowley rang him, said, "Look, just come to the end of the season. We'll pay you X amount." He just thought, easy money. I'm local. Just stone's throw from my house in Chelsea. I ain't got to travel. I can see my family every day. I can get up. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was an easy win for him and a win for Todd Bowley because it stopped the fans from being as hostile as they have been this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would hope that he would have a bit more self-respect for himself. I mean, I would, if I was in that position personally, I would try my best to make something happen. But you look at some of his press conferences and saying stuff like, he doesn't know what to do with João Felix, so just not going to use him. But you bring back, like you said, Ziyech playing Conor Gallagher behind the striker against Real Madrid in a game that wasn't completely dead. It's just weird things. And even now you say as well, the midfield three against City, you're essentially throwing the game to City. I mean, City are obviously the best team in the league. They are an outstanding football team, but you got to try and compete and you got to try and put your best team out there. You clearly didn't do that. But it's also not on the players. I'm not saying it's not on the players. It is on the players as well. But, there has to be an idea where Bowley or whoever else at the club is going to say, he had a lot of these players when he was here before. Why would they play for him now? If you're Kai Havertz going to look at you and say, I'm not going to play for you. I mean, he's not played well anyway, but more to the point, he's not going to play for you, stuff like that. But look, season's over at least, It's no more stress. Just before we wrap up on the season and then look forward to next season and maybe some ambitions of your own for the club Chelsea. Last season, just sum it up in maybe a couple of words, just how
rubbish. You're trying to find the word rubbish. I can tell you what it is. I got other words, but I'm going to use rubbish for now.
Fair enough. I didn't know how to phrase that sentence because there's only negative words that you can use if you're a Chelsea fan, considering what their ambitions are and what Chelsea have done. But next season, Pochettino comes in, as we've discussed. There will be a new team. There will be a lot of new players and a lot of players gone. What are you hoping for? Considering now you've got rivals around you, Man United have improved this year. We don't know what they'll do. Newcastle, who have, I think I'd say they have overachieved. I didn't expect them to get Champions League football. Arsenal have done well this year and look like they're going to try and get Rice and Caicedo in. City will be there. Liverpool, not sure what they're doing. Looks like they want to try and throw all the money on Bellingham, who looks like he's closer to Real Madrid. But then at the same time, they're linked with three good midfielders, so it could be a boost there as well. So many teams are in and around. Tottenham are there sometimes. All these teams around, what would you hope for Chelsea next season?
If I'm honest, and it's me just trying to be honest as possible, I think without the European football, the amount of issues that have been highlighted over the last 2 or 3 seasons, I think realistically getting back into Europe is the achievement. And that's just me talking from a realistic perspective, you'll ask some Chelsea fans, they want to go and win the league or try and push for the Champions League next season. That is not happening because there's so much that we have to address this summer, not in January, like we tried to with Enzo. We got to address it in the summer. We got to offload players. And I think it's going to take time for Pochettino. Yes, he's got that preseason window in America, but he's got to bring that into the league form, which is completely different from your preseason. And it's going to take some time, I think. You know, whoever we bring in, they have to get up to speed fully with what Pochettino's asking. Realistically, like you just said as well, you know, you look at Liverpool, they want McAllister. I think that's literally a done deal from Brighton. Newcastle, like you just said, you know they're going to spend. They're in the Champions League, so they've got the money, the financial backing of their owners, so they're going to spend some good money this summer. Man City, let's not even talk about them because we know what they're about. United will sign some players. You know, I've been hearing mad rumors about Neymar only wants to sign for United if he's leaving PSG. So read into that what you will. So I think every club, and obviously Arsenal as well. So you're going to see a lot of clubs pushing, you know, and you think Arsenal, credit them, push City and in a way bottled the Premier League this season. So everyone's going to raise their game by, you know, 25-50% next season just to try and compete with City. And I think we're miles away from that. I think we're miles away from even trying to compete for a league. I think our ambitions next season, top 6, Europa League at best. We can try and push for Champions League possibly, but you look at the teams around us and they're going to be doing just exactly the same. We can't even rule out Villa as much as we talk. Unai Emery is a really good manager. He's done well with the squad he's got now. They're looking at Asensio from Real Madrid. They're bringing in big names, so you can't rule them out either. So it's going to be a tough season, but I trust Pochettino to at least get the football right at Chelsea again. That's something we've missed now for 2 seasons. So there's no real excuses because we haven't got European football. We've got 1 game a week, essentially, without League Cup and FA Cup as well, but no European football. This is the time to get it right. This window here he's got to get it right. Yeah,
he does. I mean, even Brighton as well. Brighton started. Dahoud's coming in. Yeah, they got Milner for a bit of experience. So yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting season. Personally, from the outside looking in, if Chelsea allow Pochettino to build a team that I think he's trying to build, genuinely, I think anywhere between 3rd and 5th Chelsea can get. But of course, now it's a monopoly with everyone spending money. You know, people say that makes the league more competitive. It looks like that, but in my frank opinion, I think the league is still a pile of poo. But hey, that's another discussion for another day. But Theo, it's always been a pleasure, man. Before we lock it off, and you will hear from Theo again soon, I'll invite you again for sure. Gonna try to do some transfer stuff during the window as well. So I'll be shouting you for that for sure. But please let them know about where they can find you personally, and also your shows as well, because you got more than just from the shed. As well.
I don't know if I can claim the other one because I've neglected it this season. But yeah, so yeah, well, first, appreciate you having me back on. It's always a good talk when we come on here. So yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, you can, as you can see if you're watching in the visual, from the shed that's at Chelsea Twitter and Instagram account as well. Again, you know, forgot what that one's called. Style of Play Football. My mind went blank then. Now, what I'm trying to do with that, and again, you're very much welcome to come on there, as I want people to be coming on. I want regular guests to come on, regular co-hosts. So anyone who's looking to get into football, little shameless plug coming on, but anyone who's looking to get into football sort of content and try and build something, then go to Start of Play Football on Twitter, DM me, and yeah, we can talk on there. But definitely gonna have to get you on there, Kojo, as a regular co-host, regular guest.
Anytime.
You know what I mean?
Anytime, anytime. Honestly, I'm doing this right now. Obviously, free midfield, and but my calendar's open. Like I said, I ain't done free midfield in a while, but I'm trying to, be a bit more particular with my content. For people like you, and there's like 4 or 5 others. If you holler me, I'm there. So
yeah, we'll talk, man. We'll talk.
Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Of course, that was Chelsea's season. Just for Theo's state of mind, I hope they do a lot better next season. For my state of mind, I hope they stink. But other than that, it's been a pleasure. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Find us on the YouTube channel. Free Midfield Podcast, and of course on all your audios and all your socials, Free Midfield. That includes TikTok, where I have to learn how to do more content and videos. I did apply for a job to be a content creator at TikTok. So if I get that job, I better learn fast. So other than that, have a lovely day, and I'll see you later.